Alright, before I get started again, I just want to let you know that, I announced April would be Star Trek month. That's not going to happen. I've decided that it's easier for me to fly by the seat of my pants when I do these review series and stuff like that. I got Slimania still going on. I'm going to be doing these WrestleMania reviews in this week leading up to the current WrestleMania. But it's just... it's easier for me to fly by the seat of my pants and not say, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. And with the situation that's going on, it's easier for me to just kind of relax a little bit more than just constantly put out review, you know what I mean? And especially with these WrestleMania reviews, it's a longer span of time. They're like 4 hours a piece, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, let's talk about WrestleMania 20, shall we? Leading into this WrestleMania, we had the Royal Rumble. Just a warning. I'm going to be speaking about Chris Benoit all through in parts of this review. And I know what he did. Alright. I still haven't technically accepted it yet, but I know what he did. And it's been how many years? But I'm not going to judge him on who he was outside of the ring. I'm going to be talking about who he was inside of the ring, and that was a phenomenal professional wrestling performer. You cannot look at a Chris Benoit match and say he's not giving 110% in that match. With the moves that he does, and the technical grapples, and the submissions, and the diving headbutts. And watching the triple threat match last night between him and Shawn Michaels and Triple H, that was a great match. And Benoit really made that match. So, I'm just forewarning you, if you're triggered by the name Benoit, you might want to turn off. Because I'm not going to talk about his personal demons. I'm talking about professional wrestling Benoit, okay? So, the lead up to this WrestleMania was kind of... okay, so my history with professional wrestling goes back to the 90s with WCW in the late 90s. And then we sort of stopped watching. I don't know what accent came from, but we sort of stopped watching. And then I met a friend in my freshman year of high school who was a wrestling fan. He was telling me about what was going on. I'm like, because I was never a WWE fan. I had some little metal figures I used to mess around with, but I was pretending they were WCW wrestlers. Because I was a WCW guy. But, I think I pretended The Undertaker was Kevin Nash. It was really weird. But, yeah, so the lead up to this WrestleMania, I remember correctly, both Chris Benoit and John Cena wanted title shots. But Paul Heyman said, no, neither of you can face Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. So he had them qualify to be in the Royal Rumble match. And then Benoit was the only one that got punished and said, you got to start from number one. Which he did, and he won out of Shawn Michaels from 1995. 6? One of the two. It's one of those two. They're in 5. I don't know. But yeah. John Cena got relegated to fighting for the United States title against the Big Show, which, as a starter match for WrestleMania, is actually pretty good. But we'll get to that in a minute. But Benoit ended up going to Raw and inserting himself into an already established rivalry between Shawn Michaels and Triple H, which I believe was originally supposed to culminate at WrestleMania with Shawn Michaels winning the world title from Triple H. But then Brock Lesnar decided he was going to leave WWE after WrestleMania, so they had to fast track him and Goldberg. And then Goldberg said he was leaving after WrestleMania, so they had to do something else. So what they do, they had Eddie Guerrero win the WWE Championship from him at No Way Out, so that it's a non-title match between those two. And then Benoit just went to Raw and inserted himself into an already made rivalry. resulting in the WWE Championship match really not meaning much at WrestleMania 20. They would make up for it in the next WrestleMania. Well, yeah, but here it was sort of a blow-off match. They just inserted Kurt Angle after he won a number one contenders match, and that was that. It wasn't really anything big. But yeah, let's start with the show. John Cena versus The Big Show. Decent match. The ending was very John Cena at the time. Worth the thugonomics. He grabs his chain, bops Big Show on the head, hits him with what was the FU at the time. After adjustment, FU. Because he came up with the name when he was mocking Brock Lesnar. But the FU, 1, 2, 3, John Cena is United States Champion. We then have a fatal 4-way tag team match for the World Tag Team Championships. And listen to these team names, man. We got Booker T and RVD. The Dudley Boys. La Resistance, which at the time was a pretty good French tag team, but this version was Rene Dupree and Rob Conway, the French sympathizer or whatever. Okay, maybe the subpar version. I think subpar version was the other two. When Sylvain came back and Rene Dupree went to SmackDown. But I'm just saying. And then the major team of Mark Jindrak and Garrison Cade. And you may be saying to me, Holmes? Well, to be honest, I better remember myself. I know Mark Jindrak was in WCW towards the end there, and Garrison Cade was like a tough enough prospect or something. He often aligned himself with Coach going forward after this, and eventually he was in a tag team with Trevor Murdoch, but other than that, he didn't really do much, and they were sort of the odd team out in this, as I thought that perhaps, because here's the thing, Evolution would end up winning. Evolution, that's Batista and Ric Flair would end up winning the World Tag Team titles from Booker T and RVD at the draft show, because they're going to split them up, and then they end up putting them on the same brand, but Triple H will work Tuesdays. I don't know. But it would have been better for me, in my opinion, if they had put Evolution, Ric Flair and Batista in this match instead of Garrison Cade and Mark Jindrak, because it was kind of like they were just a spot keepers, really, because they were really, And one thing I hate about Fatal 4-Way and Triple Threat tag team matches, even to this day, is that the rules are so fucking stupid. You can't have, for some reason, because in a Fatal 4-Way match, you have 4 people in the ring at the same time. But when it's a Fatal 4-Way tag team match, oh no, you only got to have 2 people in the ring, and you can tag any other team you want to tag. You can tag your own partner, you can tag one of the other team member tag teams. It's stupid. And they still do it to this day, and I hate it. I hate it, because it's not a Fatal 4-Way tag team match, in my opinion. It's not. It's just a tag team match with 4 teams. And you can tag out to another team if you want. A Fatal 4-Way has all 4 in the ring at the same time. That's not what it is. But Booker T and RVD won. And like I said, they should have had Evolution in there. Evolution should have won the titles. I hate it when you have multiple man matches and the champions still retain. Because to me, in a multi-man match, which they always said, if their champions at a great disadvantage. They don't have any championship advantage. Champions don't even have to get pinned. But yet, you have them win all the time. It makes no sense to me. It never has. Next match was Christian versus Chris Jericho. And this one, the ending still confuses me to this day as to why they did this. So the whole basis behind this was that Christian and Jericho made a bet. Christian bet he could kiss Lita before Jericho could kiss Trish. And very obviously, Jericho ends up winning that. But in the process, Jericho has also fallen for Trish. Kayfabe. And eventually she finds out what's going on. And Christian even tries to make a move on her. She's not interested in Christian at all. But then that's what really confuses the ending. Bishop even ends up putting Christian versus Trish in a match. And Christian just goes full out, going after her, and he wins. And then the end of this has Trish come out to help Jericho because he's about to lose, for her to slap Christian or whatever, And then Christian pushes her into the corner, and she can't see what's going on, and Jericho goes to console her to see how she is. He elbows him. How? She elbows him. There we go. She elbows him in the face, not knowing it's him. And Christian rolls him up for the 1-2-3, only for after the match to stop him from going after Christian and slap him in the face. And it's very ridiculous. She does it twice. It's ridiculous because both their hairs is going, because they're, it's really weird. And it made no sense as to why she would turn on Jericho. Maybe turn on Jericho, but join Christian? And then they get Tomko in there? I don't know. We had Evolution versus Rock and Sock. And this is what I was talking about. The only reason we had this Evolution versus Rock and Sock handicap match is because I think WWE was unsure, or Vince McMahon was unsure that Randy Orton could hold a match on his own at WrestleMania. Because even though it was a handicap match, the main thing was the rivalry between Randy Orton and Mick Foley. And it should have been an Intercontinental Championship match, in my opinion. But they were unsure on Randy Orton. This was his first WrestleMania match. They wanted to have more players in it, like The Rock and Ric Flair, and add Batista in. And The Rock looked ridiculous with his goatee at the time anyway. He looked better with the goatee later, but here he just looked terrible. And Evolution won, which was the way they were going. Orton and Foley would have a pretty decent Extreme Rules match at Backlash, but yeah, it just seemed like it should have been Randy Orton versus Mick Foley. That was the whole story. Oh boy, now we get to, and this is going to show you how the women were treated at this point in time. We had Tori Wilson and Sable versus Stacy Keibler and Miss Jackie in a Playboy evening gown tag team match. And what was this rivalry about? Well, this rivalry was over the fact that Tori Wilson and Sable got to be the duo on the cover of the Playboy magazine over Miss Jackie and Stacy Keibler. Okay, I could see Stacy possibly being on the cover. But at this time, who was Miss Jackie? I know what she is now. She's Charlie Haas's wife. And later would be with Rico. But at the time, she was only known for Tough Enough. So why would she even be picked for the Playboy? She's not well known. Stacy, yeah, I could see. I had to think for Stacy. I still do it. Picture right. See that? Right? That picture there? Yeah. Still do. She's a beautiful woman. But I just don't get. They could have had Victoria, which is already in a match, or Jazz, or someone who has been well known with WWE at the time to be in Playboy. Miss Jackie. It made no sense. She was a nobody at this time, and she really didn't amount to much. Sorry, Jackie, but you did. They really didn't. Or your manager for your husband. That was about it, and that's really where I remember you from. But yeah, and it's an evening gown match, but as soon as the match started, they took the evening gowns off and they were just wrestling in their bra and panties. So for Jackie, who didn't want to do it at first, but then did, and then she had these weird little arm ruffle things that she was kind of just flapping around for a while there. And yes, Sable and Tori Wilson won, and then a few months later, Sable and Tori Wilson would be in a rivalry. I don't get it. We have the Cruiserweight Open, and this goes back to me saying, if there's a multi-man match for a championship, then the champion should lose the title. But, of course, we don't. Now, we got great cruiserweights like Chavo Guerrero, Billy Kidman, Funaki-san, number one announcer, Jamie Noble, Nunzio, Rey Mysterio, Tajiri, Shannon Moore, and even someone I forgot was even in WWE, Ultimo Dragon. And you had Akio, who would later be Jimmy Wang Yang. But yeah, and it's cruiserweight's flying all over the place. However, this was the first Cruiserweight Open match. And I think this is the only one they do it with. They have a couple of Cruiserweight Open matches, but they had every competitor standing outside the ring. And then when one was limited, would just kind of roll in. I like the later versions of this where it was more like a gauntlet match. Yes, they call it the Cruiserweight Open later, and it's the gauntlet match, glorified gauntlet match. But I like the other versions because you know who's going to come out. Here, it's like they're all around the ring, and Taz's even going, well, who's next, Cole? Who's next? And then just rolling in, like, oh, it's one of the people on the outside. if you don't know, because that could add to surprise too. If they're all in the back, a cruiserweight like Gregory Helms, who would surprisingly show up later in the 2006 one, or Roman 2006, that worked. Whereas here you have everybody you know right there, and there's no surprise. So yeah, and Chavo Guerrero retained, which you know my thoughts on how champions should not retain in both of my matches. I'm just saying. We have Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar in a match that sucked. You had Stone Cold Steve Austin as the special guest referee, and he's the best part because it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. Nobody was into this match. And watching this again, yeah, no one cared. They were both leaving after WrestleMania. No one cared about this match anymore. Brock Lesnar was trying to be like Goldberg and growing a beard, but it looked like if you're a 12-year-old trying to, or you're getting to puberty, you have little patches and stuff. That's what it looked like. Goldberg won, and then they both get stunned by Stone Cold. Whenever you have Stone Cold as the special guest referee, it's kind of like just a throwaway match. And if we get to Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler, you'll get my opinions on that later. Next, we had the second Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match, and it was Rikishi and Sky 2 Hotty versus APA versus the Basham Brothers versus the World's Greatest Tag Team. And in my opinion, see, this one's a little different. Sky 2 Hotty and Rikishi retaining here was kind of the right call, because who are the other teams? The Basham Brothers, probably the only one I could see doing it, because the APA eventually would split. Because Farouk was on his way out of the company anyway, and it would be John O'Clock and JBL would be born at John O'Clock, and then the World's Greatest Tag Team would be split up, with Charlie Haas would stay on SmackDown, Shelton Benjamin would go to Raw. So, you see what I'm saying? This time it worked, and it was a decent match. Oh boy, we're back to the Divas. The Women's Championship match, Victoria versus Molly Holly, and the loser gets their head shaved match. And I want to talk about this because the irony. Before this match started, oh my God, I was laughing so hard at this because the irony. So, who was it? Jesse Ventura, because they had the Hall of Fame people, and Jesse Ventura went to the Hall of Fame. He came out and he did an interview with our current El Presidente, Donald Trump. You're already ahead of me, aren't you? You're already ahead of me. An interview with Donald Trump before a match where the loser gets their head shaved. And 3 years later, Donald Trump would be involved in a match where the loser got their head shaved. Sweet irony, my old friend. Oh. Anyway, you have Victoria versus Molly Holly. Loser gets their head shaved. Victoria retained the title. Molly Holly got her head shaved. It was funny for a little while, and then it got boring, and then she was just gone. I don't know. Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle. I was sort of mentioned this. It's sort of just there. The ending was very Eddie Guerrero-esque, where his leg is hurting him, so he loosens up his boot. Kurt Angle puts the ankle lock on. He rolls out of it, and then rolls Kurt Angle up, wins the match. It's just there. And to me, I never understood when the WWE Championship was on SmackDown, how it was considered secondary just because it was on SmackDown. The World Heavyweight title very much got the marquee matches. It got the Elimination Chamber match at both Survivor Series and SummerSlam. It got the main event here, and the Royal Rumble winners in it, so I get that, but I never got how it was. They got pushed to the backside when it came to these co-branded pay-per-views. You know what I mean? And then when John Cena would win the WWE Championship the following year and go to Raw, the World Heavyweight title was kind of just pushed to the side because it was on SmackDown. I was a SmackDown guy because we didn't really have cable. So SmackDown was the only show I could watch because they aired it on KIMT, News Channel 3, at like midnight. And I would take the VHS and the VCR and set the recording time and watch it the next morning. You know? And Undertaker versus Kane, and this was... I remember not being impressed by the return of Undertaker because to me, I liked the biker Undertaker, you know what I mean? I liked that character. But they brought back the Dead Man Undertaker. And the way the story is, they had, what was it? Kane attacked the Undertaker in the Buried Alive match against Vince McMahon because he saw his brother became too human. Says the guy who took off his mask. I will admit that he took his mask off and he became more of a monster, but it just kind of never... Oh, you became too human, but you took off your mask. So that makes you more human too, right? No. Where the hell did Pinhead come from? Anyway, yeah, decent match. You know, the whole Paul Bearer's, oh yeah, and Kane just like, and I like the beginning of this match. Kane's just like you can't believe that he's in front of him. Kane, of course, loses. Undertaker was on the street at the time. Let's talk about the main event. Shawn Michaels versus Chris Benoit versus Triple H. This is a good match, like I mentioned. All three great performers, but to me, it felt like Chris Benoit was just inserting himself into this. And I really think that if Benoit had not gone to Raw and instead challenged for the WWE Championship, Shawn Michaels would have won this match against Triple H. I think that's what it was building to, and they just scrapped it. Because really, Shawn Michaels' comeback was kind of meh, if you think about it. Like, he came back, he won the world title, then he lost the world title, and it looked like this rivalry with Triple H was building to him winning the title again, and then nothing. And then he didn't really do, except for the return of DX, he didn't really do anything singles-wise. That rivalry with Jericho was decent too, but I'm just saying, which one? Both of them. The one 2003 and the one 2009? 8, 9, whatever. Or it was where he shoved the Shawn Michaels' eye into the Titantron, and then he accidentally made, he moved up on the way of a super kick, and Shawn Michaels kicked his wife. That thing, that's what I'm talking about. But yeah, this match was good. Chris Benoit won at the end. The streamers coming down. Eddie Guerrero come out. They're both celebrating. You know, I just think a better idea would have been Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Benoit. And you could have Eddie Guerrero not go fully heel. He didn't have to. He could be because Eddie Guerrero could be a tweener, and it would work. Like he could have portrayed you won the Royal Rumble, I say. That's pretty good, vato. Oh, but you can't be me, I say. No way, I'm a WWE champion, I say. You know what I mean? The whole thing. I'm sorry to all Mexicans if I disrespect you. That's my Eddie Guerrero impression, man. I'm just saying, you know, he could be cocky, like cheating and stealing, and in the match he could try to steal multiple times, but it didn't. It wouldn't work, and then have Benoit win, and at the end you could do they shake hands, they hug, and they raise their both hands up. But no, I guess having them both have championships and doing that, it was a cover of WWE magazine I used to have, which I wish I still had it. But yeah, they're both, you know, like this. I love that magazine, by the way. I wish I still had it. But yeah, just yeah, it was a decent end. You know, Chris Benoit's story, because he had won the World Heavyweight title, it was WCW World Heavyweight title, in 2000 against Sid, and then left the next night. So he never really had to hold on to that title, and now he got it. So yeah, all overall, I can speak English. Overall, WrestleMania 30 was a pretty good WrestleMania. Decent matches. You could tell what the state of the women's division was at this point in time. These kind of matches they were doing. But yeah, decent WrestleMania. Let's see. Rating systems. Let's talk about, I don't do ratings. But yeah, just pretty good. What are your thoughts on WrestleMania 20? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.